Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Jai Shaw Football Show. You're watching SteveMajorSports.com/live. We're so welcome that you can join us this morning. And Coach Shaw, welcome. This is your show, brother.
Thanks for having me, Steve. Round two.
Got it. Yes, sir. Nobody knows about that except me and a couple of friends. But anyway, we'll work on this again. So you got the hay in the barn. We'll talk about that a little bit later. And you're ready to go tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. So obviously not having school this week, being out on fall break has been, a little more relaxing as far as our preparation goes. But we got an afternoon run through this afternoon, and then we'll bring our players in the morning for breakfast and a quick lift, and then get ready for the game tomorrow night.
Okay, before we get into the intricacies of last week's game, we want to cover some of our sponsors: Canton Tire and Wheel, Green Heating and Cooling Incorporated, Northside Hospital Orthopedic Institute, Georgia Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Center, E.F. Thomas & Sons Electrical Contractors Incorporated, and Schottenkirk Ford. Coach, you want to go ahead and highlight some of the players of the week from the Rome victory?
Sure. I'll start with Adarius Harshaw. Was our offensive player of the week, had 5 receptions for 86 yards, 2 touchdowns, both of them in the first half. Got a little dinged up and wasn't near as effective in the second half. Had to sit out a couple of quarters, but he was well on his pace to a big time game. So, and the second touchdown catch he made was tremendous. So, him and AJ were really dialed in the first half. And then defensive player of the game is none other than, as your guys announced and called it, Trimble Island. So, Austin Trimble plays corner for us, senior cornerback, had the big time pick in the end zone with 12 seconds before half. Also had 5 tackles, 3 pass breakups. Really played probably the best game of his career. So, special teams player of the weeks, Adam Fullen, which is a receiver for us, scored a touchdown a couple of weeks ago against Carver. But just his effort and how hard he played on kickoff return and kickoff was tremendous this week. He always gives 100% effort, and definitely a big contributor for our program. And the other one is, we had 2 special teams players of the week. Josh Rich, who's a senior cornerback, first time playing football, started the game at corner for us, and played really well on special teams as well. His motor goes nonstop. So, scout team players of the week on offense was an offensive guard, George Bogdaddy, who's new to Cherokee football this year. So, he's going to have a bright future. And then our D end, Levi Shedd, which is another sophomore and is kind of working his way up the depth chart as well. So both those 2 kids did a tremendous job last week in practice. Our whooping stick winners offensively was our center, Ben Rice. Makes all of our line calls, just tremendously consistent week in and week out, coming off double knee surgery last year. So really excited to see Ben out there and be playing and participating. So, and then defensive whoop and stick winner was our defensive end, Jared Sperling, a senior DN, did a tremendous job, probably went against their best offensive lineman the entire game, and really was unselfish playing their zone runs. And then our Warrior Belt winner this week was Steve Hardison. So he gets the Stone Cold Steve Austin Warrior Belt this week. So a little disappointed he didn't get to wear it around a class this week. So told him he'll have to win it again.
Absolutely. Well, he's got some weeks to win it. Coach, I want to congratulate all these young players and also to you and your staff. When all of these kids were back in the pandemic and you guys were locked in your homes and things like that, the kids continued to work. And now they can see the fruit of their work here with the rewards that they're getting. And also you're off to a 3-0 start for us. So thank you for that and keeping your kids on task.
Yeah, definitely. It was a tremendous, shout out to our coaching staff who stayed connected with those players throughout the entire time, and being able to, Coach Corey, our last strength coach and offensive line guy that moved on to Pinecrest Christian in June, continued to get them workouts throughout the summer. So, but yeah, I mean, as we made that transition, but it's a testament to our kids and our coaches staying connected and staying working during the quarantine time.
I got to tell you, I feel like the great Indiana high school basketball story, Hoosiers, where Shooter was in the infirmary. He was assistant coach and he was recovering from alcohol. I'm not recovering from alcohol, but I'm in the bunker and I'm watching you guys every week and I'm jumping up and down. Colonel Stanfield, was at Cherokee High School for
Yep.
quite a few years, came over and we're just, yay, interception in the end zone. We're just having a good time. Lord willing, I hope I'll be able to get to your games and be able to get back behind the microphone soon.
Well, definitely, we're looking forward to you being able to get to our games as you recovering from your heart issue. So definitely looking forward for that time, man.
Well, I certainly appreciate you and your staff and everybody in the Cherokee Nations, all the prayers. Well, let's go ahead and talk about Rome. So you didn't disappoint, really. On your first drive, you went 80 yards on 6 plays, and then the point after touchdown by Joel Stahl put you guys up 7-0 with 10:05 left to go in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we moved the ball on the first drive pretty efficiently, and specifically through the passing game. Hit Brady Bacher on a big third down. I think it was 3rd down and 8 on a little bender route, which he runs so well, and then finished it off with a 36-yard touchdown to Adarius Harshaw. Uh, Probably one of the aspects that AJ Swan, our quarterback, has done so well is stepping up in the pocket. And I mean, he had a tremendous pocket from the offensive line. When he let that ball go, he was actually getting hit. So to be able to put that ball on the money, and Adarius had man coverage and broke off a deep post and drifted behind the DB, and AJ was able to see him and put it where only he can catch it. And Darius did the work from that point on. So, but put us up 7-0 and kind of set the tone for the rest of the game.
Well, the really good team that the Rome Wolves are, they didn't take long to get back on the board themselves. They came right back with the 80-yard, 15-play drive, which took a little time off the clock, and it was capped on a Ellard 1-yard touchdown run.
Yeah, you mentioned that drive alone, Steve, was 15 plays. I mean, we had a big offensively. We were only on the field for about 42 plays, and Rome was on for 69. So that's something we definitely need to balance out. And I think, defensively, we were really all night long bend but don't break, and let Rome chew away some chunks of yardage and then move the ball up and down the field. But once we got in the 20, we were able to hold them. And the first drive for them, that was the only touchdown we gave up to them all night. They had the ball on the 25-yard line, 4th down and 9, and were able to convert that, ran a draw against us and got 10 yards and continued the drive. And then they punched it in from 1 yard out on a QB sneak with Eller.
Yeah. So then right after that, they missed the extra point. So you're still up 7-6. Okay. So the next play, you have 56-yard drive, 7 plays, and it ends with a Swan to Harshaw pass again in the end zone.
Yeah, and that drive was set up by Adarius. Harshaw had a 43-yard kickoff return. Tremendous blocks on that return by Folan and a couple of other guys. But Adarius was able to bring the ball out almost to midfield. You know how explosive he is. And then we were able to it was really tough sledding run game wise. Rome's defense was tremendous. Their 2 defensive ends were phenomenal, probably the best we'll see the entire season. And so we had to attack them through the passing game. We're able to move the ball down. And then I think we hit Darius. And this was one where AJ once again stepped up in the pocket, was actually getting drugged down from behind and just happened to get enough strength on the ball. And it shows you, I told AJ, that's a grown man throw right there. So, but he put the ball to the side of the end zone where Darius had gotten hurt a couple of plays before that. We also completed a 4th and 2 on that, to a little wildcat to Adarius. He completed the first down, but he had a shoulder issue going on. So he caught that touchdown pass with one arm. So just shows you the toughness of those kids.
Yeah. So now you're ahead 14-6 because they missed the extra point. And now they come right back in the second quarter. They have a big drive again, 80 yards. This, I think, where maybe a little steam was taken out of them, because an 80-yard drive, and they had to end up for a 27-yard field goal from Lopez Romero, which made it 14-9 at the time.
Yeah, they had, once again, man, they had huge chunks of yardage. I think we gave up 400 yards, and that's not something our defensive staff nor myself was excited about. But like Coach Harvey said at the end of the game, he pointed at the scoreboard, and when you give up 400 yards but only 15 points, that's a testament to how tough our defense plays when we get down in the red zone. Held them to 3 field goals. That was the first one, 27-yarder. That was actually his closest one. And he's a tremendous field goal kicker. So hit 2 in the 40s a little bit later in the game. But for us to be able to buckle down and tighten things up as they got down inside the red zone and hold them to a field goal, that was a big difference in the game.
But then you responded with a 59-yard drive, 11 plays, and Keith Adams Jr. Runs it in the end zone untouched from about 3 yards out.
Yeah, that was a really impressive drive by us offensively, because we didn't have a Darius for that entire drive too. And so, when a Darius is on the field, he kind of opens things up for some other guys, but had some big time catches there by our guys. I know Bacher and Shockley had a couple of big time catches on that drive. So, LJ too had a big time third down catch a little bit earlier. LJ McNeil on an 18-yard. We caught him in cover 2, and AJ threw it in the hole. Big time catch by him. So those other receivers really stepped up on that drive, and we weren't gaining a lot in the run game, but we were gaining enough to keep them honest. So Rome definitely went in to try to shut down Keith Adams, and it was really tough trying to run the ball against a very physical defensive front.
So just before halftime, Rome starts another drive, and time is running out, and they throw the ball in the end zone, and Austin Trimble there for an amazing interception.
Without a doubt, probably the play of the game right there. They got a block in the back after we kicked off, so they started at the 10-yard line and really just marched down the field in under 2 minutes, running the ball against us. They ended up getting to about the 6-yard line, and there were 12 seconds left, and you have no timeout. So you're kind of in a predicament there. You probably can score running the ball, but if you don't get in, you're not going to get off another play. And they elected to pass it. Probably I would have done the same exact thing from a head coach perspective in that same scenario. And, you figure you can get a couple of pass plays off in 12 seconds. So, but they threw a little sluggo route, a little in and he breaks on an in route and then drifts to the corner, and Trimble was in great position. That's something that goes unnoticed, Steve, is our corners are really long. Riley's 6'3", Trimble's 6'1", and they have really long arms. And, even when Josh Rich is in there, he's another kid that's 6'1". So we got a lot of length at the corner, and it's tough to throw over the top of them. But Trimble makes a big time play and allows us to go into the half up 21-9. And, had they scored there and then get the opening kickoff to start the second half, it would have been a different ball game.
So going into halftime, it's 21-9. And folks, you're watching the Josh Shaw Football Show, and you're watching on SteamMajorSports.com/live. Other sponsors, the Josh Shaw Football Show and Cherokee Asco Football is Fast Signs of Canton, Titan Pest Solutions Incorporated, the Wallace Financial Group, Greg Elwell Family Dentistry, and Daniel Lawson Residential and Commercial Pest Control, and Xerox Photography. So, Coach, you're in halftime. Now, what are your offensive and defensive coordinators, Coach Pierce and Coach Harvey, telling their players? And of course, you're giving them advice as well.
Well, I mean, really, it was just to continue to execute. We tried making some defensive adjustments, just to try to stop down their running game a little bit. But, it was, and then offensively was just to continue to do what we were doing. And, I thought had a Darius not gotten hurt, they would end up breaking the box a little bit and allowing us to get the run game really going. But when the second and third quarters with him sitting out during those times, they put everybody in the box and still made it a little more difficult for us to move the ball. But, really the halftime, let's go out and finish the game and continue to execute.
So, Coach, I want to highlight your offense in the first half, which did a really good job. Swan, Adams, Shockley, Bacher, Harshaw, Shockley, McNeil, Simmons, Chanley, Rice, Hardison, and Battle, who really put that 21 points on the board for you. Gave AJ a lot of protection so he can make those passes. And the running that Keith was able to get was tough running, as you said, but he was able to eke out some runs and, of course, push that one in the end zone in the first half.
Yeah, I mentioned the play differential, the number of plays Rome ran and the lack of plays that we ran. We only had 6 offensive possessions the entire game. We had 3 in the first half. We scored on all 3, and then 3 in the second half. 4 if you count the kneel down. So at the end of the game. So we just didn't have a lot of opportunities to move the ball in the second half. I know one of those was 3 and out and a punt, and there, you're on for 4 plays. I think the entire offense only played about 15, 16 plays in the second half. So defensively, we were on the field for a tremendous amount of time, and some of that was defensively was our own doing, because we couldn't get off on 3rd and longs. So the other thing is Rome never punted. I mean, they went for 4th down 6 times. Now we stopped them 4 out of the 6. They only converted 2 out of 6, and I'll take that any day of the week. So our defense was able to clamp down and get off the field, and then hold them to a couple of field goals.
Yeah, and we was talking also, you're ahead 21-9 at halftime, but in the second half, as you said, it's such an unusual situation because not only you were backed up a little bit, so you're not at the 45 or 50 or 45 where you can really open up a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, when you're backed up into your, inside the 15-yard line, and you're starting to drive from back there, it limits your play calling. Obviously, you want to be, a little more cautious than what you would be if you were across midfield. Maybe not as aggressive. And we missed a couple of, we had Shockley on a wide open 3rd down play, and we just missed him there to be able to continue to keep that drive going. And so we were just off a tick here or there, but once again, we just didn't have the ball very much in the second half. So, and Rome was able to continue to run the game. The more that Rome ran the ball, the more I watched that clock tick down. So I wasn't opposed to it as long as we kept them out of the end zone.
That's right. So you're talking about defense. In the third quarter, neither team scored, but this is where your defense really came to play in the fourth quarter. They played the whole game really well, but Rome the Wolves drive the ball for 83 yards, and they have to settle for a Lopez Romero field goal, which really had to put the air out of their sails on that one. So that made the score 21-12 at the time.
Yeah, we were able to stop them on 3rd down and force them into a field goal on that drive. Once again, the whole mentality the entire game defensively was we bent several times, gave up some chunk yardage plays versus the run, but at the end of the day, we tightened the bolts when we had to and made some plays. I think on that drive too, Riley had a tremendous 3rd down pass breakup. Riley Lyons at corner, and they had ran a vertical and he came off of his guy and pass breakup from behind. So tremendous play by Riley Lyons, and we were able to hold them to a field goal on that drive.
So now we're late in the fourth quarter now. And again, that was the play I just talked about was 83 yards. Now they go for 73 yards and nine plays. And again, your defense stiffens and they have to settle for a field goal, which is good. Now it's 21-15 and we got 52 seconds left in the ball game.
Yeah, I think they started that drive with a little over 2 minutes. We were up 9 and I knew that was 2 scores. So I started to breathe a little bit easier at that point. I knew the way defensively we were playing that, and they were struggling. They could, they could run the ball on us, but they really struggled in the passing game against us, and our secondary was all over it. So, Steve, before I talk about that drive too, man, Brayson Parker had another game of 16, 17 tackles again. Man, he's playing. That's a kid that hasn't been player of the week yet, but could be it every single time that we line up and play our inside backer. He was all over the field again. And then another shout out to Toby Thompson. Toby's playing at an extremely high level right now on the defensive line. And heck, he's a DN with second on our team in tackles right now. So, but both of those guys are playing tremendous. We got a lot of guys playing at a high level defensively, but they start that drive and work their way down. A couple of big time plays on that drive. That was, we ended up putting Keith Adams Jr. in there at defensive end once they crossed the 30. Keith gets a hurry and flushes the quarterback on the first one. And then on the second play, he's in at DN. His dad played in the NFL for the Eagles, so he's got some pass rush skills. So although Coach Harvey takes claim at teaching him all those. So, but Keith comes off the edge, was able to get a 9-yard loss on a sack. Those are the only 2 defensive play. If he wasn't our starting tailback, he'd probably play a lot more defensively, but great job by our defensive coaches thinking of putting him in at a critical moment when they're dropping back to pass. And, the one he flushed him, Eller ran for a first down. They ended up probably the second play of the game's coming up right now, Steve, is they ran a boot. They were down inside the 10 and ran a bootleg pass play out of it. And Coach Harvey sent a blitz with our jack backer, which is Will Ross, and Will tackled Eller for an 18-yard loss. And it really backed him up. So it became, it ended up being, I think, 4th and 25 at that point. So they settled for the field goal, knew they needed 2 scores with under a minute to play, and was ready to line up for the onside kick.
I guess we're going to have to go back and talk about Keith Adams Jr. on defense again, because you and Coach Pierce are probably going to have to pay Coach Harvey, and you're going to have to pay Coach Pierce his dinners for the rest of the year, man, and 2021 as well, man. So I don't know how you talked him into that, but Keith Adams did a really good job. You're right; he got in there, disrupted a couple of plays, and really was a big difference in that entire drive.
I think we snuck him in without the offensive staff knowing until they heard his name announced. So, we do the same thing with Nason Simmons that knows every now and then. And I know those offensive guys are a little stingy with their players in that regard, especially those two. So, but we usually just grab them, sneak them in. By the time they realize what happened, we're done and off the field. So, but no, just, at that point in the game, Steve, in a game of that magnitude, you got to have your best athletes on the field at all times. And it was tremendous for him to go in there. And, Keith worked, we worked a lot of defense with him during the summer when we were doing the small groups coming, and mainly because he was in a group of 20 and we had to have some guys defensively, but gave us an opportunity to work with him some defensively then for that exact purpose. I mean, that's exactly what Coach Harvey envisioned, was lining them up in a passing situation and letting them play D end and just come off the edge. And so he came up with 2 big time plays.
So 52 seconds left. Tell us what happened on the onside kick that they performed. There was offsides, and what were your options?
Well, unfortunately, the only option I had was a re-kick, but we didn't. That's the first time we've had the hands team out there, although we practice it. We did not do it live very well in that scenario. Now, Riley Lyons, they had Jay Wise, their best receiver, on the sideline, and he was able to grab the ball, but he bobbled it, and Riley Lyons recovered it. But I had saw the flag come out immediately. They had a player 2-3 yards offsides when the ball was kicked. Once I saw the flag out, I stopped stressing about who recovered it. But the official told us the only opportunity we had, it was an automatic re-kick. So I didn't have a chance to decline it or anything like that. And then on the second one, Keegan Baker makes a tremendous play, goes up. He's on the front line of the hands team. The ball pops high right in front of him, and he goes up and was able to snag it. And our guys fell on it and protected him, and we were able to come away with the 21-15 win.
Yeah, you lined up in the best offensive play of any coach. That victory formation, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah. Hey, Coach,
absolutely.
you highlighted some of your defensive players. Let's go ahead and run down the full gamut now. This is just a starting. Jared Sperling, Tyler Goddard, Cody Butler, Brayson, you just talked about, Will Ross, Chase Goddard, Keegan Baker, Austin Trimble, and Josh Rich. Man, they all did a good job. And then, of course, you have their backups and things like that, too, that you might want to talk about as well.
Yeah, I mean, just a tremendous team effort for our guys. Riley rotates at that corner too, with Josh Rich, and he played and made some big time plays. But we have such a fun group of kids, man. There's, knock on wood, but there's been no drama or distractions from our kids this year. Just a lot of fun. They go to practice, they have a good time, they're laughing and smiling, and our practices, are kind of laid back in that regards. And there's no one that cuts up with the kids more than me. So I'm sure our coaches get aggravated when they're in a serious teaching moment and I'm clowning with kids over there. So, but I mean, football's supposed to be fun, and our kids have a good time playing it. And we just got such a great, tremendous leadership on this football team, from our seniors and even some of our underclassmen, and just a really fun group. I'm already excited to get to practice today, and it'll be an hour practice top. So, and that's why it was important, after the quarantine and through this pandemic, for us to be able to play. Such a fun group of kids. I just wanted to experience those, a season with these guys.
Yeah, Coach. Now, so you're 3-0. Now you're going to Creekview to go to the Grizzlies Den. Coach, Williams is over there, and he's got a very reputable team again. They're 2-0. They beat Woodstock and they beat Etowah, both of your region foes. And so tell us a little bit about their offense.
Well, they're a two tight power I run team. They got a tremendous quarterback in Brody Rhodes, all county kid. And then Tyler Stevens was their starting safety last year. He's a big athletic kid, 200 plus pounds lined up in the eye back there. And they give you a tremendous amount of formations and shifts and motions. And, so it's almost like it was a couple of weeks ago against Sequoia with the wing T. Our eye discipline is going to have to be really important. But probably one of the things that strikes me about Coach Williams's teams is they're very physically tough. And, we just got out of a bloodbath of a game last week, and we're going to be, that's the challenge this week is, can we match the physicality that Creekview is going to bring to the table this week? And specifically what they're doing on offense, our kids would rather line up against a spread offense and use their speed any day of the week. But when you got to line up and you get condensed in the box and you got people running right at you, we're going to have to play gap sound and really rally to the football and play tough and physical.
And then 3-4 or 4-3 defense?
They're a 4-2-5, and then they will jump into some 3-4 looks. So this will be the first time in a couple weeks where we're going to get multiple looks defensively. The last 2 weeks, Sequoia and Rome had a 4-man front every play. So you kind of knew where they were at. And, Coach Williams kind of mixed it up. Their defensive staff mixes it up a little bit over there. And so we're going to have a challenge of just some different looks coming at us. And, and that's where having a kid like AJ, at the controls, he's going to be able to read that stuff pre-snap and hopefully put us in some good plays.
Okay, Coach, before we leave, I want to recognize our sponsors again: Kenton Tire and Wheeler, Green Heating and Cooling Incorporated, Northside Hospital Orthopedic Institute, Georgia Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine Center, E.F. Thomas and Sons, electrical contractor, Schottenkirk Ford, Fast Signs of Canton, Titan Pest Solutions, the Wallace Financial Group, Greg Elwell Family Dentistry, Daniel Lawson Residential Commercial Pest Control, and G-Rocks Photography. Coach, before I leave, I want to thank Derek Griffin and Chuck Chambers, who did a really good job of bringing the ball game
Awesome.
last Friday night at Rome, and also Jay Speaks, who may be watching this broadcast now, who the app kept crashing, and he kept fighting it and was able to keep us online, and all the people watching it was able to watch the entire game. I want to thank Jay for that, Father, for all of that. And Coach, I want to thank you for your time. Good luck tomorrow night, and have a good 1 hour practice today, and good luck over at Creekview.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things before we turn this thing off. First of all, Steve, appreciate you still providing this for for the Warrior Nation out there, man, and being able to get some guys to jump in the booth for you. They've done a tremendous job, and certainly, man, we're blessed that you're able to. Steve Major Sports is still able to provide a live feed for us, and even though you're doing it remotely, you've got some guys in place to be able to do that, and they did a tremendous job. But number one, just want to say thank you for that. And how many subscribers did folks watch the game last week?
Oh my gosh, we had 2.7 from the initial, but then you sent out a link. I think we got something like over 4,000.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's got to be a record, I think. I mean, I don't remember us in any of the previous years ever getting close to that.
No. The other thing is we need to get that YouTube app where we can get 1,000. And I know you sent a lot, because if we can get that app, it'll be a lot better for us.
Yeah, if you guys, Warrior Nation, if you guys got an opportunity, go to Steve Major's YouTube channel and subscribe to it. We need to get 1,000 subscribers on there. So, but anyways, last thing too, Steve, I mentioned this to you yesterday off the air, but I've got a group of coaches that were all on my staff down in Florida. And we got a group text going that usually is ticking off daily. So, but I just want to give a shout out to those guys. They loved watching the Josh Shaw football show and then turning around and heckling me for the rest of the day. So, but we were all in the same staff down together at East Ridge, and kind of now we're all a part of different programs. But Mark Woolham and Mike Winters and Dave Winsel and Seth O'Hara and Bub Clark and Grady Guest, just want to give a shout out to those guys and thank them for watching.
Well, I want to thank him too. And also, Coach, when you're 3-0, it's easy to heckle back at him. Continue. Good luck.
Well, they're all having great seasons as well. So, but anyways, wish them the best of luck with their season. So, thanks for having me once again, Steve.
Okay. You've been watching the Dry Shell Football Show on SteveMajorSports.com/live. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye from
Thanks.
my office. Bye-bye.